Hi, and welcome to this second episode in our YouTube series about digital product passports. This episode is all about identifiers or data carriers or whatever you want to call them. These items are the ones that connect the physical item with the digital information, basically building a physical metaverse or a digital twin between what's in the cloud and what's in the real world. So let's get started. We will base this identifier section mainly about NFCs, near field communication, these small little chips and tags. And we will talk about these, which are QR codes. That's the main topic. There is other ways to identify products, but they are not basically covered by episode 2. So QR codes, very nice invention from 1994. It was a Japanese company called Denso Wave. They used that for labeling automobile parts, but today it's became like a complete standard. Quick response code is actually the real explanation for it. So it's a two-dimensional matrix barcode. You might know regular one-dimensional barcodes is what you see when you shop for groceries. That's only a number. The beauty with the QR codes is, of course, that they can contain another level of information, mainly URLs or hyperlinks to the web. And that's basically what we take advantage of in the situation with digital product passport. We use the QR code in a way where we can find, or actually the URL points to a certain information in the cloud. When we look at DPPs as such, we always talk about different levels of granularity, or are we talking about model-based generic product level where every single product basically have the same information? That's the top part. All products share the same metadata. This is a simple way to get started with DPP, and something we definitely think it's just a no-brainer, because if you do this properly, you don't need to ship any manuals. You can remove all the extra information. You can have information about accessories, spare part management, additional sales items you want to promote for your product, etc. It's really nice. And with the help of WhatIO, this link is actually dynamic. So it's not static information you present for your product. It's super dynamic. So you can update it all the time. The mid-level is batch product level. It's basically very similar to general product level, but you add a little bit more granularity and details. You actually know when or what week it's produced, where it was produced, and also you can differentiate between batches, between different material suppliers and these kind of things. So it's quite an interesting middle ground to get into DPP. The full DPP obviously is when you treat every single item as a unique item. And that's the basically the item unique level. This also is a level where you can trace the parts easier. You have possibilities to do authentication, what we do with a token system. So you actually know that the product is real and these kind of things. Yeah, it depends on how you want to deal with it. And yeah, there's different ways of reaching to a successful implementation of DPP. So the QR code itself, when you use the WhatIO as a system, as soon as you build up a product in the system, it basically takes a couple of seconds. It automatically generates the first model-based and actually batch ID QR code. It's both a PNG and you also have an SVG. And I just want to show you very briefly the difference. So with a PNG, it's of course a bitmap. It's basically limited to the size, what you can do. And of course, it's a bitmap. So in a way, you can scale it a lot. But it's very hard if you want to use basically a laser cutter, or especially want to 3D print you want to have vectors. So the beauty of having vectors, you can scale it to any size, you enable it to be added into a 2D or 3D CAD system to be manufactured in different ways. So we have this feature in What.io that you can save both of these forms. So actually in the presentation, we say we don't have vector format. We actually solved that for a couple of weeks ago. So right now it's possible. And the beauty is that when you download that vector format, you can add it, for instance, in Autodesk Fusion. You can put it on top of your products, and you can just stretch out parts and, of course, make them in different colors and actually integrate them very beautifully into your production line. So this is basically how it looks like when you have a three-dimensional QR code. And then you 3D print it in 2 different colors. Very neat, very simple. It's, of course, a little bit work on the process. So I would recommend this when you have the batch DPP or the model DPP. For unique items, I don't anticipate that this will be used at all. This is how they can look like. These are printed on basically on these small batches. We 3D print these in 100% recycled format. And they're pretty neat to have, because you can use them as as inventory tags. You can put them in your store. You can add them afterwards. Simple, you can reuse them, and it's actually quite nice. We have other versions of 3D printed kind of small badges, which you can put in your keychain. This is an NFC tag with basically a screen printed logo on. So the NFC tag is on this little sticker. This is also one way of doing that. And actually, the thing is also sometimes you can do a combination of NFC, and now this NFC is just put on top of the sticker, which is not so nice, but you can just put it before you put on the labeled printed QR code. And then you give the option to the user to either use the camera or tap on the product. So you have like double security. If you are on an expo, you have demos, or you really want to have a bulletproof solution, What.io allows you to use both, actually. So that's a pretty neat feature. So let's dig into. So I get the question a lot. Okay, where should I put my NFC tag, and do I need one on every individual component and part, and how does that work? So the simple answer, very simple answer, is no. You basically put one on the main part, the mother part, let's say the casing of this speaker, the case itself, that is the product. And that's where you put it on your logo, or you embed it into the material of the product, or on the inside, so it's not easy accessible. And that will be then the big DPP that keeps track of everything downwards in the assembly structure. So that keeps tracks of all the sub-products, of the local parts, the components, the whole thing. However, there is, of course, times when you have option accessories like this side stand, which have a lot of components. This is a sub-product by itself, and it does have a QR code. Of course, because it's a sub-product, What.io automatically gives it a QR code and a link. So it is possible to use this as a standalone in a store or for other type of reasons, but normally it's only a sub-product that is linked into the mother product, and it's not necessary to use the QR code on such a sub level or sub-product. There is also products and parts. In this case, this example, there is these drivers, and as you see the QR codes now on the screen, you can actually take up your camera and you can point these on the QR codes to see these drivers. These drivers are, of course, made out of a lot of small materials and neodymium magnets and so on, and silk fiber and carbon fiber and so on. So these have a lot of documents and certifications connected to them. So they are treated as sub-products. And of course, there is a QR code for them too. But in the big picture, it's actually one identifier for the full speaker that then breaks down the structure into the construction, and that's how you can find and locate the drivers later. So an easy way to get started is with What.io and Digital Product Passport. I really recommend buy one of these Dymo. We use the 550 label writer. It's super easy to connect to Mac or a PC. Yeah, and you see it has its own inventory batch, both with NFC and also with a little label. But it's so simple. You set up What.io in a couple of minutes, and then you use the Dymo printer to start your travel and your knowledge trip with digital product passports. And you can of course use these for inventory tags and for all this too, but it's a very simple way of quickly getting started with What.io. And as I said, it's basically a 30-second thing to set up your first product. It automatically generates the QR code, and you can immediately print it on a label printer to get going. There is other ways to do this for exhibitions and shows. If people are interested, they can scan the QR code, they can tap on the NFC tag to get acquainted with your products and so on. That's more on the QR code side. They are, of course, very visible. It's not always that you want to have a big QR code on your product. And if you want to go more into more advanced usage of DPP and have full traceability and do much more smart features, you need to treat every product you ship as a unique item. I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes. So you need to get that social security unique identifier on it. And for that, or actually NFC, which is a subgroup of RFID, in this case, near field communication, it is the answer to this problem as a data carrier. It's a passive. It actually comes on big spools like this. So we sell them in these. We manufacture these in 3 different factories, and we can deliver these in a spool or one by one or pre-programmed. We have machines that can pre-program with your own What.io dynamic links or whatever you want to have on them. It's all a standard used in your credit cards. The whole finance industry is using that. So it's not something we invented. It's something the whole industry is using. We promote to get the cheapest ones because I know you don't want to add too much extra cost on your products. So the NTAG 213, What.io is developed to work with only 144 bytes for the data we put on the tag. And that basically gives us a short URL, and it gives us the token to authenticate that this is not spoofed or counterfeited in any way. And they come in different sizes and so on. You can also, if you have different ways you want to slot them in, we can 3D print also some small slots, so you can slot them in vertically, either during printing or after printing, a little bit like almost like a SIM card in a mobile phone. There is also other ways. These are pre-made, so these can be used for textile. I think they are made for 50 to 100 times. You can actually put them in the washing machine and they will still work. So they are small, rigid. So they come in square sizes. We can make custom sizes. You can also make bigger ones. So there's different ways of doing it. The reading distance to these is approximately 40 mil. So this is the size you have to do. And of course, the bigger the NFC tag, the bigger the antenna is. And the closer you have it to your phone, you immediately get a reaction. We also developed some other FPC NFC tags, which are more resistant to tough conditions, high temperatures. If you go above 100 degrees, you need to go into the FPC field. Those are the one in the right corner, which looks like small flexible circuit boards. Those can take in 30 minutes up to, I think it's 160 degrees Celsius. But you can also solve a lot of those problems by embedding them. So in this case here, it's actually the chip is completely embedded in the 3D print, so it's isolated. And that protects, of course, the NFC from outside disturbance and things like that. So what's the beauty with NFC? The beauty is that all the Apple iPhones and also Google Android phones, they are basically set up to automatically react when they come close to an NFC, especially when it's a URL. You just need to be close and then it pops up and you see the digital product passport. You don't need any app to actually read them when they are developed with our system, at least. If you use our app, you can, of course, program NFCs, but you also have the ability to get more data, which is classified or secret and only can be read by certain people. So the NFC the NFC app have more capabilities with the tag. And also, if you look in the future, to have bidirectional data coming up, like service reports or logs, or even sensor data going up to the DPP, you need to have an app running in your system. It will not be enough with only a simple tap with an iPhone. So if you want to download our app and start working with NFCs, so NFC tags are sold by What.io in the US, and they are at whatio.shop. In Europe, they are sold through lostboyslab.shop, one of our partners in Europe. But you can also, if you don't want to buy from us, you can buy them on Amazon. They're much more expensive, though. We sell them in big quantities, so we have very low prices on them. And when you start to program these, the easiest is to download a free app, and it's free to log in and do some evaluation and testing on the What.io solution. And these QR codes is a link to the Apple iOS download and the Android download. And you need these to build unique items. You basically program them with your phone. Also, you don't only read, you program them with your phone. And then you will have to tell the app that, which is the brand I'm working in and team, and which is the product family, and which is the actual product. And then it actually builds a unique token inside. And it also lets you find that in the back office later on as a fabricated item. So it's a connectivity thing. There is ways to do this even more advanced. This is when you do more of a full integration in factory level. We have developed an Arduino-based board. So it's basically a shield on that Arduino. This is called Incendo, and it's basically a way where you can automatically manufacture the chips. And you can also develop anything in C++ on these to make it much smarter. And this takes away the problem you might have with using mobile phones in your factory or at your site. And these you can build any casing for these. They can be redeveloped in a smaller version if you like. They can be connected to the What.io cloud through API and basically do automatic programming and registration of the NFC tag. So this is exciting future. We have these boards available both as you can build them yourself, but also as pre-built and pre-assembled. And that's a good way for kind of integration teams to get a DPP production fully integrated and automated in your own industry. Yeah, so this is something I will not go into deep, but this is the actual process. This is what happens with a different flow when you program a tag for your product. So it's a pretty comprehensive going back and forth and generating tokens and setting up the product inside the What.io platform as a manufactured item. So where do you put the NFC tags? Yeah, we already touched on this subject before. There should normally only be one on the mother product on top. And it depends completely. If you're making bikes or drones or whatever you're doing, there is different possibilities to do them. And it's basically case by case, we have to look at that. But The beauty is that you need one, and then it keeps track of everything which is underneath with parts. It can be a sticker. If you like, you can pre-order these in quantities. We can make these stickers, and you can put them on the outside. And as mentioned, it's very beautiful with 3D printing, as you can actually embed them inside a material, or you put them inside the product itself. They can go through about 15 millimeters of plastic. But very nice is of course to have a slot, have a little groove where you can put them in on the backside, and some kind of marking, UV printed, laser cut, printed, engraved, where you can understand where this little tag is located. Here is one way of doing it. You build a batch, that's the center one, because it's going to on furniture. So you actually 3D print a batch with the NFC tag included, and then you basically glue that in, or you snap that into the full product. And you can put that in a place where, the owner will know where it is, but it's basically hidden inside a feet or behind some material. Or you build, when you design your product, you do a pre-made slot where it's put into the product itself. There is other ways to do it. This is one way. If you do have something like this, so you have a foam which goes on, it's very simple to actually use that part to just put the tag, and then when you press and glue the whole thing together, it will be neatly integrated into the product. And as I mentioned, these badges, this is an example on a 3D printed furniture. I think it's actually a tabletop or a desk. And this one have another smaller FDM 3D printed badge connected to it, just for visibility that this is a logo badge, but there is also a possibility to connect to it. The beauty in 3D printing is to actually embed it fully inside the material. Then it will be basically invisible inside, and you can decide any way you like. There's other ways to do laser engraved badges and hide the kit in there. So there is a lot of different opportunities to integrate it. And we are here to help. So you just reach out and we can have a discussion of which NFC tags. Should I use a square, rectangular, FBCs, or which size I should have, and should it be integrated in a 3D printed, some kind of protection, and so on. So these are things which we work with every day, and we are really here to help you find the right one. So a lot of them are available. We have them in stock. So they're available both, as I mentioned, in the US on the whatio.shop, and lostboyslab.shop in Europe is a 3D print farm partner that sell these online in their shop and can ship in Europe very quickly. And in whatio we ship in the US in a couple of days. Yeah, that was everything I wanted to tell you about identifiers. I hope you think this was useful and shine a little bit light on QR or NFC and what type and where should I start. So that was all for today. Thank you very much.